We live our lives under a comforting delusion. We perceive the social contract as a solid, unshakable foundation, a silent agreement of politeness and restraint that allows billions of people to coexist in a fragile state of peace. We believe that our thoughts are our only true sanctuary, a private vault where our darkest impulses and most brutal judgments are kept hidden from the light of day. But the reality of human civilization is far more precarious. Our world is not built on truth. It is lubricated by the lie. From the white lie that protects a child's innocence to the complex diplomatic deceptions that prevent nuclear annihilation, the ability to withhold the truth is the only thing standing between us and total societal liquidation. What happens when that shield is shattered? What happens when a biological breach, a microscopic predator of the mind, strips us of our ability to deceive? This is not a scenario of liberation. It is a report on the terminal collapse of the human spirit. Imagine a world where every dating app, every family dinner, every corporate boardroom, and every international summit becomes a clinical battlefield, with the truth as the ammunition. This is the chronicle of the Veracity Pathogen, the silent, neurobiological erasure of the social filter. Welcome to Discovered. To understand the danger, we must first confront the cold, evolutionary science of the lie. Lying is not merely a moral failing or a bad habit. It is a sophisticated survival mechanism. According to research by psychologists like Bella DePaulo, the average human lies at least once or twice a day. These are not just the lies we are aware of. They are the involuntary social adjustments that allow us to bond and avoid conflict. We lie to maintain the ego of others, to ensure tribal cohesion, and to survive the grueling psychological demands of a densely populated society. Lying is baked into our survival instincts. It is a neurological superpower that allows us to simulate different realities and navigate the minefield of human emotion. When we remove this capacity, we are not making humans more authentic. We are performing a psychological lobotomy. The human brain is not designed to process and eject every raw emotion and judgment in real time. Authentic honesty requires emotional digestion, the ability to process a feeling, understand its context, and express it in a way that serves a constructive purpose. But the Veracity Pathogen bypasses this process. It activates the body's waste system without the filter of thought. It turns the mouth into a psychological vomit cannon, ejecting raw, unprocessed bile onto everyone within earshot. This is the pathology of truthfulness, and it is a death sentence for human connection. The mechanism of this collapse is found in the orbitofrontal cortex. In the clinical world, we already see the precursors of this nightmare in patients suffering from frontotemporal dementia. When the frontal lobes are damaged, the social filter evaporates. The patient loses the ability to distinguish between a private thought and a public statement. They become brutally honest, often saying things so inappropriate and harmful that their families and support systems disintegrate within months. Now, imagine this neurological decay as a contagious pandemic. Imagine a virus that targets the very region of the brain that makes us civilized. This is the truth flu, a biological breach that treats our social structure as a disease to be cured by fire. The first stage of the pandemic would be the total liquidation of the intimate sphere. Relationship dynamics would enter a state of permanent meltdown. The little white lies that sustain a marriage, the silence about a partner's aging, the suppression of a fleeting attraction to another, the withholding of resentment about a mother-in-law would vanish. In a world of forced truth, every domestic argument would escalate into a clinical autopsy of the relationship. I am fine is replaced by I am disgusted by your presence. I love you is replaced by I stay because I am afraid of being alone. The home, once a sanctuary, becomes a torture chamber of brutal, unyielding honesty. Families would shatter in a matter of days as the accumulated baggage of decades is vomited out in a single afternoon. The economic collapse would follow immediately. Our global market is an architecture of perception. Marketing is, by definition, the art of the curated lie. Imagine a world where advertising is forced into total veracity. The before and after cream ad would read, "This product is a placebo designed to exploit your fear of death." The job interview would become a scene of mutual revulsion. "Why do you want to work here?" "I don't. I am desperate for currency and I find your corporate mission statement to be a pathetic joke." Global finance would evaporate overnight as the confidence that sustains credit and investment is revealed to be a collective hallucination. Marketing, branding, and the entire structure of consumer desire would be revealed as a house of cards, and the wind of truth would blow it into the abyss. But the most terrifying threat is found in the halls of power. International diplomacy is a theater of polite deception. It is the art of saying we are considering your proposal when you mean we are preparing for war. If the world's leaders were struck by the Veracity Pathogen, the diplomatic channel would become a conduit for pure, unadulterated aggression. Every border dispute, every religious tension, and every resource struggle would be stripped of its rhetorical mask. A summit between nuclear powers would sound like this: "I despise your culture. I find your leader to be a weakling, and I intend to seize your oil fields the moment I find a tactical advantage." Without the ability to lie, there is no room for compromise. There is only the raw, unyielding collision of competing wills. The doomsday clock would not just move forward, it would melt. We must also examine the rise of the radical honesty cults. In the early stages of the pandemic, Some would frame this pathology as a spiritual awakening. They would follow the teachings of those who believe that lying makes us literally sick, and that 100% honesty will heal the soul, but they would quickly realize that the healing they seek is actually a state of total social isolation. The radical honesty movement would become a collection of broken individuals living alone in caves or fortresses, terrified of human contact because every interaction is a social grenade. Trust would not skyrocket, it would vanish. When you know that everyone around you is legally and biologically compelled to tell you exactly how much they despise your flaws, you stop seeking connection. You seek the silence of the void. The history of truth-telling has always been one of extreme sass and social destruction. We look back at figures like Diogenes the cynic, who told Alexander the Great to move because he was blocking the sunlight. We laugh at the wit of Oscar Wilde, who told customs agents he had nothing to declare except his genius. We admire Winston Churchill's brutal retort to Bessie Braddock about her appearance and his sobriety. But these were localized events, brief flashes of truth in a sea of deception. When truth becomes the new default globally, the wit disappears. It is replaced by a heavy, grinding cruelty. There is no flair in a truth that is forced. There is only the weight of the inevitable. As the pandemic progresses, the psychological attrition would become unbearable. The human mind requires the sandwich method of criticism, praising, then critiquing, then praising again. It is a biological necessity to soften the blow of reality, but the Veracity Pathogen removes the bread. It leaves only the raw, jagged meat of the critique. This would lead to a global surge in veracity-induced depression and societal paranoia. People would stop speaking altogether. The House of Commons would fall silent. Athenian Twitter would explode into a permanent, toxic scream and then go dark. The customs line would never recover because every traveler would be forced to declare not just their luggage, but their hatred for the state they are entering. The takeaway of this clinical report is that truth, when delivered without the style, wit, and irony of the lie, is a poison. It is a legendary clapback that never ends, a viral infection of sincerity that kills the host. We are a species that has mistaken the lubricant of the lie for a moral failing, when it is actually our only life support system. We are currently standing on the edge of a sincerity syndrome that could delete our history and our future in a single generation. The floor is thinner than you think. The social contract is a paper-thin veil stretched over a sea of raw, unedited impulses. When the pathogen pulls the plug, chaos will graduate from a hashtag to a total, unyielding reality. We are a collection of polite deceptions and omissions that are the only things keeping the abyss at bay. When the digits of our filters are wiped clean, the 50 shades of blank will be the only color left in our world. The discovery of the Veracity Pathogen is the final proof that we are not the masters of our own minds. We are a biological algorithm that is programmed to lie for the sake of the species. When the program is hacked, the species crashes. The historic truth gag parade of Twain and Lincoln is over. The reports of our death will not be exaggerated. They will be the only thing left to say. Sleep well, knowing that your secrets are currently safe behind the wall of your orbitofrontal cortex. Cherish the I'm fine and the I love your sweater, for they are the only things preventing the world from becoming a burning landscape of honest rubble. The abyss is not a hole in the ground. It is the truth inside your head, waiting for a virus to let it out. If you are prepared to face the truths that the world chooses to ignore, stay with us. There are many more biological anomalies and scientific horrors waiting to be unburied. We will continue to explore the truths that have been hidden in the shadows of our own anatomy and the depths of our social limitations. Subscribe to Discovered and activate the notification bell. In a world of comfortable delusions and funny what-ifs, we provide the cold, clinical evidence of reality. Do not miss our next report, where we will examine the next impossible scenario that threatens the very definition of humanity. See you in the next investigation. Remember, speak your truth, but pray that no one else has to hear it. The end is closer than the silence.